Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today, guys, I have Sal, Pete, and Anitha joining me. I suppose I should put contact information down in the description. I used to do that, but I just assume, like, guys,
Contact information.
know where they find you and crap, like your YouTube channels. There was a time where I did all that, and now I have just embraced no explanation for anything. In order to understand anything that happens on my channel, you have to go back and watch the previous seasons and understand the lore. Like I'm just not going to explain it. So if you don't know who Sal, Pete, and Anitha are, then you're clearly not my Discord. So you're just going to have to just not know who they are. Just know that they are respected members of the booktube community, and they read Traitor's Blade, which and those two are the same thing. So we're going to talk about Traitor's Blade, and this is great because the three of them have never read this series before.
Nope.
This is my second time through, and so thank you, Atticus. And so I am enjoying reading it for the second time, and to see, because this was one of the first series I read on BookTube. So it's been like 5 years since I've read these books. And so I'm also enjoying seeing, like, do I still like all this stuff? Are there some things that I don't like? Do I have to listen to Anitha's complaints the whole time? But fortunately, Pete and Sal, I strongly believe, like it. We got Sarah here. We got Rogue here. Both read it. Both liked it. Mitch is here to challenge Anitha's 3.5 star rating. Jenna, hello. Brady, hello. Thornall, hello. I did get my AC fixed. Thank you. My dad came over and blew out. It's called Zuglia, a bunch of Zuglia from the line. Yes, and Kev likes it also. Kev has read it as well. All right, so let's go ahead and give. I read it again, and I liked it just as much. I'll talk about my issues with it afterwards. But Sal, what were your just general thoughts on the book as I'm reading it?
So I loved it.
I
So
will
for
be
me,
eating.
yeah, sure. So for me, I've had this book since 2019. I have not read it because I was terrified that if I don't like it, let alone love it, Alan will boot me out of his acquaintance circle. Thankfully, I did. I loved it. I mean, yes, I have some structural issues with the way he's written some things, but I had so much fun. I read this in less than 4 days, and I didn't read anything else, which for me means this engaged me. And I know because I made a note from page 16 onwards. I loved it. So yeah, I mean, Anita will take the place of complaining, and I agree with some of all of that. But the fact that this, as a first book, as a debut, as some of an author I've never read before, I was very impressed. And I'll talk a little bit about, because I think I said this to you, Alan, before. I thought it was going to be Three Musketeers Camp, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a funny series. It is funny, but there's a lot more seriousness and depth, which again, it was a very pleasant surprise for me. So in the end, I was like,
Yes,
I
Sarah.
loved it.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some tonal dissonance in here where the banter and the attitude of them just does not go with some of the dark things that are happening in this book. But Sal, that's how I felt about it when I read it the first time. Like there are some issues we'll talk about in a minute, but again,
Remind me in the spoiler section to talk about chapter 1 and
okay.
what I was like, why does Alan like this? But anyway.
I also did not like chapter 1 when I read it. I did not enjoy chapter 1 either when I read it the first time. Anitha, go ahead, Anitha.
Sorry. Okay, you're about to see my villain era now. Anyway, I mean, to people who don't know this, Greatcoats is the first series I added to my TBR because of Alan. I think in 2021, when I found BookTube first, one of the first videos I have seen of Alan was his favorite series, and the way he talked about Greatcoats, Falco, and the characters, how they root for justice. I like all those kind of things. I was like, okay, I'm going to read the series and I'm going to follow this booktuber. So I had this. I mean, once I joined, because of Pete's read along, I read LPQ first, and that completely my track changed. But I always had high expectations for Greatcoats and the characters, and also because of reading most of the other Alan favorite books, I wasn't expecting this level of bleakness. Maybe it reminded me a lot of Fashla, which was a shocker for me. I was more expecting something like Apt or LPQ. I wasn't expecting this bleakness. So I had to reset my expectations. I do like most of the book. I do like characters. I like their banter, but the darkness of it definitely surprised me. And of course, violence, we'll talk about it during the
Yeah,
spoiler
and
section.
I do think that now that your expectations are different, I do think because a lot of what you liked, because you've already talked to me about what you liked about it. A lot of that is present in as the series goes on, but now you you know what to expect as opposed to expecting something else. Which I mean, I've talked about before on my channel plenty about how expectations can change a ton. They can affect your reading or whatever, but your complaints aren't invalid also. Like Sal said, I have some of your complaints. Some of them it's like that doesn't bother me, but it bothers you. And then some of them I'm like, yeah, I get it. Pete?
Yeah, so 1 star.
All right, so
Thank you, Pete. Thank you. Divert the anger towards you.
No, it's not 1 star at all. What are stars? I really, really like this book. This is, I think, going into it, I expected 2 things: talk about justice and whatever the heck happened in 22, which we'll talk about. Um, so this has hit at a very specific time in what's going on in my brain about justice and stuff. That's actually hitting really well. This and Night Watch and some other stuff I'm reading, I'm just like, just making the gears turn in my mind. I think this was a nice. Overall, it was a very light read. I think for me, it was like Sal said, it was super engaging. I think it's a very fast paced book because it bounces from a lot of different things. And on one level, that's can be really engaging because it really sucks you in because it's so fast paced, but also it kind of leaves a little bit of just like, I wish we had like sat with that a little bit more. And yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the banter. I really liked the what the Greatcoats stand for and everything like that. And how do you achieve justice when justice doesn't really exist as much in the world and is different in different places, even according to the law. So
Can I make a point about
Yeah.
the covers setting expectations?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the cover I have. This does give me First Law vibes. So
I see. I do not
yeah,
have that.
versus the other one, the one that has the musketeer type thing on it.
This one.
Yeah, this one. This one gives me much more fun, musketeer vibes. This one, and I think this is the first. Like Anita, I think you are right because it did give me. It's not grimdark, but it's a border of. When I had this cover, and I don't know why I jumped to Three Musketeers. I was thinking because this is the book I have had for a while. That this is more serious, and then then I have the other covers, like Alan, you have for the other ones, and I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is more happy in some respects. But Pete, to your point, it's under 400 pages, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that is the first structural issue. I think it is a very grim world, but it's look at it, like it's 400 pages. It's very, very efficient.
Yeah.
A little too efficient, but sometimes.
The reason I love this book, and upon reading it again, I noticed way more flaws than the first time around. But I don't care. So I was thinking about it today. Everything is kind of larger. Everything's kind of, I don't know. So Falkio represents. Falkio stands for the common man, and he represents justice and justice for the commoners. I've been reading a lot of stuff recently about like the city books and this, and Grace of Kings, a lot about like what do the rulers owe the ruled, and that's in all three of these series. And Falkio and the Greatcoats represent justice for the commoner, and the dukes and the knights, like the Duke, King Palus, the king is champion of the people, and the Greatcoats are his arm. And then the dukes are the champion of the nobility, of the upper class, and that the commoner is meant to serve the upper classes. And the knights are their arms. And that's just how I see this, like this how the battle lines are drawn. And so all like Pete says, like right now, it's a pretty prescient series in dealing with what justice is and what, you know, who's watching out for these people. And Falkio and the Greatcoats, their ideals, when they are not perfect individuals. One of the first things that Anitha sent to me was she was mad that Falkio was doing something. And I was like, yeah, but I like the fact that Falkio can't even live up to his own ideas. Like he can't live up to his own ideals, like the bar that him and Palus have set. And this is just ever since reading Augustus, this is always the model that I go to, that I teach my students also. The bar has to be set somewhere. If you don't set the bar, no one's even has anything to aspire to. And Falkio and Palus have set this bar for what is just and what is right and what is, how the world should be. And they're striving for it, and they don't always hit it. And that's what I really, really like about this, and especially about this series. LPQ is enriched by having read all four. Like reading all four of Long Price Quartet elevates the other three books. But this series, the other three books, they extrapolate on things laid down in the first book. They don't make the first book better, but they fill in the world and a lot of the holes and a lot of the gaps. Like a lot of the problems that people have with this first book are addressed in the later books, and either it was intended or he understood the flaws with the first book and worked to correct some of the storyline things and that kind of stuff in the first book. Like there are questions asked in the first book that are answered in the fourth book. And
that makes me super excited.
Yeah.
Because like there were so many things in this book that I'm like, could you have spent a little bit more time with this? Could we like talk more about
every single one of the questions are answered within the series. I think magic is something that I don't think is ever really explained. So I don't think we're going to get a ton of
I don't think this book needs magic.
A magic system,
I think the whole magic thing would having it's kind of like Loch Lamora in the sense that magic is a plot point that you can use, but an explanation of the magic would almost just not feel right.
But Alan, to go back to your point about justice, what really struck me with this book and why I think I enjoyed it probably so much is this is not, to me, it wasn't a question about just what is justice. It was more about justice as an agent of change, as an agent of cohesion, how you cannot have community and togetherness without justice, which is kind of unusual because usually, the ones, especially earlier fantasy, will do, is this question just or not? Which is important. This one was about, can justice change the world? Which is such a unique concept and kind of in my head, kind of why the world needs to be dark. Because if it was a just world, you could argue about a question of one or the other, right? This is about, can the world be better with this concept?
Completely agree, Sal. I love that. And this, like Sarah's saying, it just, you can pick this book apart. You can, if you want. Sometimes you just gotta let stuff go, and that's what I did with this. But because it has so many things, one, here comes the cavalry, I'm fine with. Like I'm not someone that bothers. I'm also a huge proponent of things like Sal just said, is underdog stories. Like the world is so black that the Greatcoats and their allies are these tiny candles trying to light up like the dark, like the dark hearts of everybody in there. And like when the Greatcoats encounter Atticus Finlay,
It's okay. We love that cooing sounds in the background.
and the way that they can change other people's
He's
hearts.
agreeing with you.
And the other thing that I love, and this is all stuff that like I really love in D&D when I play D&D as well, is taking everything from the heroes and watching them, how they respond when they are at the bottom of the barrel. Like it's easy to respond one way when you've got all the power and all the agency. How do you respond when all that's taken away from you? Like, do you succumb or do you rise up and then triumph? And I love those kind of stories. And that's what Greatcoats does and continues to do. And so that's why I love it. Yes, such a good underdog revenge story. Absolutely. Anita, non-spoiler comments. You can talk negative if you want also. I just want to keep it non-spoiler currently.
Okay. I like most of the characters actually. I think that's easily the best part of the book, and I love the banter between the friends. And yes, magic didn't wasn't explained much, but it did not bother me. I'm okay with hints, and that's how soft magic most of the times works. Even in like something like Lord of the Rings, we don't know how magic works technically, so I'm not worried about that. But there are like small plot holes, something like. How did this army come here at the end, something like that.
Mhm.
So I wish that was explained better. And there is definitely violence, especially sexual violence. I wasn't prepared for. I wish I was prepared for it.
That is true. And we'll talk about that momentarily. There's also, like, I'm glad you talked about the banter. This is one of, so guys, we have all been there where we're reading
He's been there too.
We're reading a book. You don't have any friends. Where we're reading a book and these people are supposed to be super close and the author just doesn't quite get them. Like, we don't buy that these people have known each other for the amount of time that they're known or are as close as the author really wants us to believe they are. With this, I believe that they are friends. I believe that they are friends. They get frustrated at each other. They get mad at each other. And anyone who's had friends for a long time, that's how it goes. Like that.
Yeah.
Like that's how it goes. Like, Finn is my best friend, and I get frustrated at him.
Especially
Once a month.
Brashti's complaints, they did not bother me at all. I found him hilarious.
Oh yeah, Brash's complaints are, and they're worded in a way that he's complaining, and I laugh. Like, I laugh in the first chapter of Night Shadow, the second book. Brashti is complaining about, and I'm dying laughing because Brashti's complaining. Like, I resonate with that so much.
And I feel like the dialogue really references like a shared history in a really good world building way as well.
Yeah.
Like it's the way that he builds out the world in an interesting way, and I loved how he did that subtly.
Yeah. And I agree. Brashti as a real life friend would probably be insufferable. But that's like people who come to D&D with a joke character. It's like, that's going to be funny for literally like 2 hours, bud, and then no one's going to like it. So please play a different character.
So maybe I'll just like criticism wise, or maybe just something that I think people should, like, for me, keep in mind. This is a debut novel. Like, it has a lot of what I call problems with the debut novel, and I do think it's a little too short. So just be prepared for that. You'll find some writing hiccups that way. And Anita, like you said, where did this army come from? I think it's just I'm convinced that somebody made him cut like 50, 60 pages out of this.
Absolutely.
There is a bit awkward that way. I said that's fine because I've read much worse debuts. Trust me when I say this, much worse debuts. So this was, I was like, okay, this is a really good debut. And the other thing I would say is, once there is a sort of main plot event without spoilers. So there's the three friends. They do separate. Like, that took me a bit of time, right? So I was like, oh, this is where the story is going, and then that flips. I really like what he did with that flip, but it was a bit like, okay, we're not going to set up more of the three together. We're going to just have Falkio in this situation. That's a bit like, I think Yana, Rose, you also said you dropped in the first page. It does change after the first 110, 120 pages. And what happens after that is fantastic. But there's a bit of sort of two parts in my head to this book. If you just be prepared for that, I think.
What made me think that it had a bunch of pages cut is there's one character that Falkio meets, and he's like, oh, you're the person that I met in this, and everyone was like, did I miss that? No, it's not in the book.
I went back and read it.
Yeah, so it has to, like, stuff had to have been cut, which to me, that's my headcanon, because that explains some of the issues that I have. I think it does get a little wild with, I think we're on a pretty straight track until like chapter 18. And I think at chapter 18, like even through the when they're separated, I think it kind of loses its way a bit. Like I don't know. It gets kind of maybe all through when they separate. Maybe Blood Week is.
I feel like he's trying to, like, once we get near the end of his separation, there's a bunch of things that he starts trying to like put in there.
Yeah.
That feel like he's setting something up for the future. Or there's something that's
dropped in the last 10%, and I was like, okay, this could have been.
Yeah,
and that's what I meant by this. There's some structure. Edits that could be made just to make this smoother, or maybe does it, like, to me it didn't matter because I was like, I'll be honest, it didn't matter because I was like, I'll trust Alan because he said book 2 like picks up. I do think if I was reading this on my own, I'd be like, I don't know if I'd immediately continue because there were those like, I'll be honest, the first assault thing that happened came, I was like, what the heck? I wouldn't have trusted, like, Alan, you said that, like, like you kind of helped in that sense. But for people who are not reading it, I can see why they would be like, okay, I'll pick it up later.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, and that's the best part about BookTube is stuff like this where I would do the same thing. Like Grace of Kings, I might have put it down. Those first 100 pages were really hard for me. Like they were really hard for me, and I put it down twice. And if it had not been a patron pick, and and Pete and everybody wasn't telling me how good it was, I would have had trouble pushing past it, and I might have like not read it. And I really, really liked it. So I'm so glad that I kept pushing back past it. I think it also remove it, like chapters like 18 through 22. You can remove them and just pretend that 23 came after 17, and you haven't really lost anything. Because
it's the most random insertion.
I know, and then, but the reason I forgive it is because when it wraps up, when we're back. Like, okay, this is a weird diversion. We're back. No man breaks the rock.
No man breaks the rock.
That was when I was sold. Like I was like, yes, thank goodness. Because I will say, anybody listening who hasn't read the books, lots of people try to write inspirational speeches that are, soaring like rhetoric or trying to like instill, I don't know, like to rile up a crowd or, instill virtue or whatever. The speeches in these books, because that was not a one-off. It's not a one-off. The speeches in these books, give me chills every time. And it is one of my favorite things about these books. De Castell knows his genre, like, and he's an excellent fencer. I mean, you can tell he fences IRL, because the fencing things are described. I don't know what half this stuff is. Him and KJ Parker, who would win in a fencing fight? Well, De Castell, because Parker's like
KJ Parker would sit there and explain how the fence thing would be worked, and somebody would run him out.
Exactly. Yes, Sarah. Yes, the speechifying in this, absolutely. And you know, he knows like he ignores the rules for what's exciting when necessary. And I'm not saying that's the right call for every author, and I'm not saying it's the right call for every book, but I'm saying more often than not in this book, that hits for me. So that's just one of the things. It's one of the things I love about this series. And it just I remember the problems, some of the problems from Traitor's Blade, but I don't remember any from the second 3 books. So I'm hoping that there's not, except that when I read, I'm like, oh, Anita's gonna hate that. Oh, Anita hates that. Oh, Anita hates that. Yes, I also love that rogue where they're like, dude, shut up. You talk too much. You talk too much.
Which is like a valid response to your friend who just talks big stuff all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure they're used to him being a windbag constantly. So let's move into, does anybody have any non-spoiler thoughts? We've been talking about half an hour. That's spoilers, and then we can move into spoiler thoughts.
Go read it, guys. Just go read it.
Go read it. Trust me for once. Like, just trust me. Like, just read it. Just read it. And you know, I mean, I would say don't give it a chance until you read the second one, but the second one's long. I mean, it's long. But
did anyone do the audio? Is the audio good?
I like it. I mean, I did immersion reading. I did not mind the audio at all, actually, especially the speeches that no man forgets the rock. I was like, I was full hyped, you know. I was like,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
let's go.
That's awesome. I didn't love the audio only because the Greatcoats don't sound how I want them to sound. Falkio's voice, I read Falkio's voice with my voice, like, and so it you know, the you know, put yourself in the main character thing, it takes me out of it when I hear Falkio's voice. I'm like, Falkio don't talk like that. Like, I don't, you know, Falkio don't talk like that. I love Brasty's voice. Like, I love Brasty's voice. I hear the narrator when reading Brasty. I love Brasty's voice. But I didn't enjoy. I didn't particularly like.
Trin's voice is the, oh my god, it's so horrible. You know, because you know, I think Sebastian de Castell explained her as initially when we got introduced to her as she's shy. So you know,
we're entering spoilers. We're entering spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk any spoilers. So we. I mean, the narrator tried to put like talk like a shy girl, but it came out as an old woman, you know, with shivering.
Yes, Mike's here. Hilarious. So yeah, that. Anyway, let's talk spoilers. Let's talk spoilers.
Can we talk chapter 1?
Yeah, go ahead. That's the beginning.
So the chapter 1, when they open up with sexy times happening, I was like, Alan, what have you gotten me into? Why am I reading this?
I almost put it down.
So it opens with this, whatever, like they're sitting outside listening to sexy times happening. And that's when I said, okay, this is going to be very camp, right? And I was like, okay, this is going to be ridiculous. Probably got some great speeches. I don't know why Alan is making us read this, but anyway. So I and then when they jump out a window. They jump out a window. That's just what I was like. This is going to be Errol Flynn 1950s.
Jumping out a window is awesome, though. I'm okay.
Yeah, but like I'm thinking it's going to be 1950s Errol Flynn, and then page 16 chapter 2 happened, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I love the whiplash, but it did give me whiplash. Like, what is chapter 1?
I did not like chapter 1 when I read it either, because y'all know I don't like an overabundance of F-bombs in my fiction, and there's several in the first chapter, and I was just like, all right, and they're guarding a door where people are banging, except really getting killed, and yeah, it beggars belief. I don't
look.
Like
some people are into some freaky stuff.
Yeah. No.
Look,
he should have just mentioned a safe word, and it would have been more believable.
I don't like chapter 1. I agree, and I didn't almost set it down because this was back when I never DNF'd anything. I was like, well, I'm gonna read this. Like the back of the book carried me through. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see this through a little bit, not, you know, and then I hit chapter 2, and the place that it got me, No Man Breaks the Rock, got me forever. But the end of chapter 2, where, first of all, we'll talk about the flashbacks in a minute. I love the flashbacks. I love the flashbacks almost more than the forward narration. But in the flashbacks, where he's helping this girl and to escape the knights, and he brings her to her family, and her family are ungrateful because he's a greatcoat, and the knight must have been trying to help her, not capture her. And then he asks the girl something, and she says, "Get away from me, you filthy greatcoat," because she's doing what her parents did. And because he's like, hey, like, that knight was chasing her. Y'all should, make sure you take care of her, or protect her, or whatever. And then there's that paragraph break. And then as he's leaving the town, he sees the sign in their window that is the sign of a missing child. And that right there, I was just like,
I just now understand why little kids are missing. Till now.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Is this a book 2 thing or just a book 1 thing?
No, I think she's talking about the King's Jewels.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible. Like, it doesn't have to be, but it's possible. Oh no, hold on. Is that before or after? I don't know if that was after the king was dead. You're right, because they're hate Greatcoats. You're right. Anyway, regardless, that line, like, it was so tonally dissonant. It was whiplash, like you're saying, Sal. But then I was like, that line just hit me so much. There's some stuff in book 3 that I'm really waiting to see how you guys respond to it. Because I responded so powerfully to part of book 3, and I told Christina about it, and she, have not read it, responded. And so I'm not gonna say anything else, but I'm just it's one of the things I've remembered more than anything else in book 2.
What do you mean by responded powerfully? It could go either way for me.
It could, but because I'm not a spoiler.
That's why he's not giving you spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not.
So Christina flipped a couch because he told her about this thing. It was so horrible. Or she jumped for joy and almost jumped through the ceiling because it was so just awe-inspiring.
So yeah.
And I think I know what part you made, because I noted that right on the top of page 16, which is chapter 2, when he calls it the house full of longings, and full of idle fancies, and a lonely old woman looking out for us, I said, I'm going to love this book. I knew at that time, because this is what I mean. He's funny. The banter is funny, but there's some lines in here which are poignant, which just works for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Not the chapter, like, I was like, Alan, what is this?
Yeah, I didn't like chapter 1. So Anita, spoiler thoughts, and we'll just rip off.
Okay, one of the first things I messaged Alan was when, I think it's around chapter 5, when we got Falco's flashback of him losing his wife and the violence in it. I was so shocked because I wanted Falco to do something. I was like, I am in shock. Alan was like, what do you want him to do? I was like, fight back and die. And that is better than this.
Like, literally, Anita's like, I don't know why he doesn't fight. I'm like, because he will be killed, Anita. Because he will be killed, and what happening to Aline will still happen. Like, he can't do anything.
That's where my expectation has gone wrong, because of how much you talked about Falco. I built him up in my head. So I was expecting him to be like that since the beginning. I think so. So I was like, I don't know. I mean,
how ineffectual he is. Yeah, I agree with you. He is pretty, in the beginning, especially, useless, right? Like, he's a poor guy. I was kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that like De Castell knows exactly how to emotionally manipulate me, because his complete and utter powerlessness in that situation, like I'm rooting for the Greatcoats to stop further abuse by the kings and the dukes and their knights, and I'm so frustrated because I have the same kind of impotent rage that he has, where it's just like, you can't do anything. And I exactly, guys. Like, he can't, there you go. He couldn't do anything. So I was totally okay with him. I mean, I wasn't okay with it, but I mean, I was like, Anita, I don't know what you wanted to do. Like, you wanted to just get murdered.
I want him to, fight back and die.
Y'all keep
Anyway,
going. I have to go put Atticus down real quick.
All right.
Can we see it? No, we can't see Atticus.
okay.
Pete, do you have a response? Because I have a response to why I think that scene doesn't work also.
I think overall, like, the scene was frustrating, but I felt like it was meant to be frustrating because, like, it is the start of the story. It is the start of just like, hey, he was not always this way, and he had to have something that motivates him to get through. I think there's an unfortunate case that it is like a case of fridging.
Yep. And I think that's where
but like it didn't necessarily. There are times when fridging bothers me, and there's times when fridging doesn't. And this is one of the times it doesn't. I struggle to understand why, but this is one of the times that I was.
I mean, it bothers me. I do get it that it did not bother you, obviously. I mean, my reaction will be different. It bothered me because I mean, most of the stories are like, okay, to motivate a male character, kill off his wife or girlfriend, especially there is a sexual violence and the revenge story. I'm so bored of those kind of stories. I was like, okay, think better, imagine better, write better, find something else to motivate your character. I mean, this is so, you know, this is so,
Cliched.
done multiple times. I grew up watching those kind of movies in my first language. Every story is the same thing. Girlfriend will be kidnapped by villain. Rest of the entire movie was like him chasing after them. Come on, think of something else.
And I agree with you, Anita, because here's where I gave him a pass because he's a debut author. This is an example of me giving a pass because my problem with that scene is all the flashbacks are very short. So the wife goes through a terrible thing, then she gets taken away. You could have cut the second part of that event, first of all, because I think it was just one step too much. Like, when she gets taken away, she could have just killed her at that point and it would have worked the same way. And I just thought it was one flashback too many. Like, and it's too short to treat this seriously. You know what I mean? Like, they could have just killed the wife and he didn't have to do the assault. So I had a problem with that. But in my head, I was like Anita, to your point, some of this is debut author that I want to see what he does in book 2, because I can see you relying on something a little, like little typical, because you need to start the story, right? And you kind of want to give Falkio, that's kind of what it very obviously looked like to me. I need to give Falkio a motive. Let's do it with the wife, and I need to do it very, very short, in a very, very short flashback, right? So the shortcut, it's a shortcut.
Okay, so I have a response in defense of this, of why this is an okay time to fridge the wife. I think that it's fundamentally different from some of the other poorly written examples of fridging that I've read, because a lot of the other lazy examples you see are petty. Like if the villain kidnaps the wife and he goes after the villain and thus starts his amazing journey. Whereas I feel like with this, everything that happened to the wife and to Falkio is a fundamental flaw in the way the world is, that it doesn't immediately affect Falkio, but that becomes part of his whole mission and identity in a way.
That's only because he met King Palace. Otherwise, he would have killed and his life would have ended.
You're
there.
exactly
King
right.
And gave him motivation to live. King Palace gave him like motivation to change the world.
But that doesn't devalue
my problem, Pete, is not
fridging as motivation.
Yeah, so there's two
it's
parts.
A combination of the two.
So there's two parts of the fridging, Pete. Like, one, she gets killed, one, she gets taken, and then bad things happen to her. Mm-hmm. You didn't need the first part. You could have just killed the wife if you needed the fridging to happen.
It's two levels of society, right?
No, but so why? Why did you need to know that she was, like, okay, I don't know how to PG-13 say
assaulted.
this. Assaulted multiple
times.
First
assault was the fact that you have the nobleman, and the second assault is the pettiness of everybody involved with the nobleman, the knights.
No, and then the knight could have just killed her at that point. You didn't need the
Okay,
second assault. Like
I
that's what I
do.
mean.
Hang
Like
on, hang on.
anyway, I know.
Yeah,
I
Let me,
just
let me say something real quick. Let me say something real quick.
yes.
And it's not a good look that Pete and I, the two men, are in
This
defense.
is not a very good look
It's
at
not-
all. I'm
it's not-
sorry.
it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But my and I don't have an opinion. The question I want to ask is, sometimes the wife gets killed. Like sometimes that happens, and sometimes that is someone's motivation for doing something. Like, is it always wrong? This is what I don't understand about the fridging thing.
So
It's
so
like,
for
I get it.
me, um, Alan, the way where it the balance I need to see is, does he do it to every female character? So what does he do with the female characters? And this is where I had a structural problem with the flashback. The flashbacks are too short. They're too short to develop anything. So the wife is a shortcut. She's very obviously a shortcut. And that's where that's why fridging becomes a bit of a question mark for me, because I'm like, you've used a shortcut already. What
And
other narrative shortcuts are you going to use?
and it's not just the shortcut. It's not about wife just being killed. It's about the way she got killed. The violence of it was so ramped up to show or to justify Falco's what is that, whatever the
Berserker
term
rage.
is. Yeah, that rage. So he just to justify his Falco's rage and his character, the violence of it, he made it like 10 times more.
Yeah.
That is not
I-
required.
I can agree with you that probably the violence could have been turned down. I do still think that the fridging of the wife and then the heel turn with the king, that doesn't just that turns him away from the blind revenge that he was going to, is actually a really good case of using this as a plot point.
And
That part I
also,
didn't mind. Like I agree. Sorry, go ahead, Anita.
also, here the cultural difference is also there, because the amount of fritzing stories you have seen and we as South Asian people, Sal and I, have seen is completely different. I grew up on those kind of movies. Almost every movie, the female character is role at least to die or to get kidnapped or to be scared of the other men, and hero's entire story is about protecting her or chasing after villains. I am so tired, so I don't have, to be honest, I lack patience to read more stories similar to that.
Yeah, to me, it's again, this is what I mean. It's a debut cliche. Like he could have done something else, which would have been more interesting. Why I gave it a pass personally, Pete, was the girl he protects. The what's the girl?
Aline.
Yeah, Aline.
Yeah, because here I'm like, okay, um, there she's not threatened, if I remember correctly, with any essay
No.
in the story. She's just threatened, and that sort of made me think this is a bad, like he needed to do this very quickly. Like that's what I mean by it's missing pages,
I hear
because the way he treats the little girl, like she's not. I was like, there's just a disconnect. That's why I gave it a pass. But I agree with Anita, because when I first read it, I was like, before even chapter 22, I was like, why did we need this?
Yeah.
You could have done something else. But again, it's a debut. I can see him. I've got 5 pages. What's the fastest thing? Let's kill the wife.
I hear you. I like that makes sense. That makes sense. I didn't think about it. I was with Falco. I was just enraged. So it blind raged me. But I will say that there are a lot of women in this series that are awesome and that have a ton of agency and aren't assaulted.
Yeah, like and the tailor. The tailor is a lady.
Taylor's
she's
so awesome.
crazy,
I love the Taylor.
and she's an older woman, so that's why I sort of balanced it out, because if I had thought I would have DNF'd the series if I thought he was doing this, like Anita said, in a very like that, oh, all women are going to be treated like this. I was like, I'm not up for that. But then I kind of sort of balanced it out because of the little girl first, right? And what was I mean, yes, the language, Anita, also, like whatever, but like the what's they're the 2 other, the caravan leader also, what is the lady?
Feltok.
She's also not.
Valiana, you're talking about Valiana.
Sorry.
None of them are put in these positions. Like when he gives them space, this doesn't turn up.
Yeah.
And we'll ignore chapter 22, which is the most absolutely batshit random chapter that comes up. But anyway, like it doesn't.
I
It's
was
not
on
a
a stream when I read that. Like you guys could probably go back and find the stream and find me reading that chapter.
All right, so let's jump to that. So in chapter 22, and this is why people put down the series. I have seen more than one person put down the book and the series because of chapter 22. And what we are not going to do is get into a long debate about this chapter, guys. It's not how I want to spend our time. You know what I'm talking about, like not about whether this chapter should exist. We can talk about that all day. This is the character that Falkio says, Ithalia. So she is I forget which one of the gods that she's in charge of, but there's this group of basically like healing prostitutes. Like there are these brothels, and their job is like people who are sick and injured and whatever. They go and they pay for healing. It just the magic and the way the gods and saints or whatever work in this world is that particular thing comes through prostitution or being with a courtesan. Well, this lady appears like out of nowhere. Like she appears out of nowhere, and apparently she came to Falkio while he was in prison. Yet that's not in the book. Like Sal went and double checked. Everyone was like, "Wait, what?" It had to have been in the book at some point. And so then she undresses him against his will. He does not want to be undressed. And then she does him, and it heals him. And the next morning he says, "Thank you." And he is healed from whatever was wrong with him. But it is so bizarre. I don't understand its purpose. And then Falkio immediately falls in love with her, and she's like, "Hey, come away with me to this island and just forget all your responsibilities because you're in love with me." And guys, I'm just gonna let you know, in like chapter 4 of book 2, he's like, that's the second person I've ever been in love with after my wife. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Every single time Athalia's name is mentioned, the books are worse for it. I am warning you now. Like, I am just letting you know, just ignore it. Like, seriously, just ignore it. Just ignore it.
To be honest, I did not hate Italia. I give that to author. I hate the author for doing it.
I blame the
I mean,
editor.
yeah.
I think that the editor messed up here. Like I was like, what the heck?
If he had explained the world, or there was world building or magic, what that Sisters of Mercy, his purpose is something like that, maybe it would have made sense, but it did not make sense. And Falkio saying thank you for healing would have made better chance. At least he should have stopped Falkio saying stop, don't do this for so many times.
It is so poor. There are so many things about it that it's wrong it's bad on every level. On every level.
But what frustrates me is that from a world building perspective, to give a sect of prostitutes sex work effectively a positive spin is not necessarily bad, but it's so random. I was like, what the heck is happening? So I was thinking, as a world building, like having a Sisters of Mercy, your doctors and sex workers being the same, pretty cool. Except that I was like, I have no idea where this. I was like, where did this drop in? What is this Sisters of Mercy thing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think, again, I think it's an editing problem. Like I think something has to have been removed.
Some of the world building stuff is much better in the other books. Yeah. It's much better in the other books. But again, all the other books are at least 200 pages longer than this one. Mm-hmm. So I think he had the space to do it. The editing, like Ben, you're right. Like the editing's unconscionable. Like having them reference something that we didn't see is ridiculous. When we were in Falkio's like POV, like what do you mean? And then, like you said, Sal, it doesn't have to be a stupid thing, but they never mentioned the Sisters of Mercy at any point earlier in the book. And then she comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh, you saw me earlier in the city. When did you see her?" Oh, no, sorry. It wasn't early in the city. It was like when he was
ball in that party.
Oh yeah, at the party. It's like, what? No, we didn't see her at the party. And then he happened to run into, like, she's from his past, where he saved her from someone. Like, everything about it is bad. And
So
the insta-love thing, I hate it. I hate it because for me, the insta-love for Athalia undermines Aline, his wife, dying as a motivating factor for me because of how much he loves Aline. And we know that he's never fallen in love since then. Like, he has been on this quest with Aline as the driving factor since she died. And then he falls in love with Athalia, and then it's in a single scene.
I agree. I agree with Escape. I also thought there was some trap being set, so like they're playing with his mind or something.
I would have been okay with that. I would have thought that was awesome.
Pete, I want to know your perspective as a man. Here, man is the victim.
It was just a glance away, Thornall.
It was so just like, I didn't even realize he was getting healed.
Look,
you guys told me that afterwards. I'm like, oh, that's why this had to happen. That's great. And I also had a problem because like Sisters of Mercy is a very generic name. I've seen that in at least 2 other fantasy books. I'm pretty sure I recently read it.
Isn't it in the Siwas Corax?
Yes, Siwas Corax.
I think it's also in
I think there's also an order of nuns who are called that.
Yeah. Now, the names for his saints are awesome. Like the Saint Brigid who sings for tears, and Saint whatever that strides the waves or whatever. I love those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Sisters of Mercy are actually a real Catholic nun order. So which is what also threw me off. I was like, what?
Excuse me. Can I speak to Sister Athalia, please? Like, just show up, see what happens.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like having any name that kind of references a real world thing can really bite you in the butt, because like sometimes it can be very useful. Like, for instance, when Tori was writing Cold Silver for Souls, she used dollars as her currency, and she ended up changing it. But when we were talking about why she was using dollars, there's a lot of like little implicit assumptions about time period and stuff that come along with using dollars at a specific price range that really help build out your world. They really help build out the world for a hot second. But you know, referencing real world things can also take people out of it.
Yeah.
Or it can have implications of real world stuff that you don't want. Like Sister of Mercy has some nun stuff, but also it's just like, it's not immediately obvious that they're prostitutes.
Yeah, actually we talked about bad things. I do want to talk about, like, you know, positive things in the king.
Yep. Okay. So I love the backstories, and Sal is right. They're not long enough, but I love the way he builds out the characters in the world through that. We get to see what the world was like through Falkio and what happens to his wife. And then he, you know, trying to, with nothing to lose, he reverse Shawshanks it and goes to kill the king, but realizes that the king is the king is this scrawny kid who also is a victim of his, you know, tyrannical dad or whatever. Like, he's been thrown away, and he has a vision. And I really like that this is a cooperative effort. This is the king can't do it. I love the fact that the king realizes how little power he has. Like, Palus realizes he is in a weak position compared to the nobles, and he needs Falkio and all of these other people that Falkio recruits. Like, Falkio's the first one, and then they go out and recruit, and I think there's 7 to start with, and like 3 of them are girls, which I also really like, because I'm like, are they all going to be guys? No, but so the 3 of the first 7 are women, and they all have. I love the king's names, like Falkio's the king's heart, Brassy's the king's bow, Kest is the king's sword, and then Falkio, we learn Falkio gets to be the first Cantor because the best duelist is the first, because you know, if you're going to be in charge, you need to be the best duelist. Well, Falkio's the best duelist because he beat Kest.
Yes.
And we don't know why. And, you know, hopefully we'll find out. But we don't know why. We don't know how, because Kest is a better swordsman, but the whole book you're like, okay, tell us how. No. Stay tuned.
I swear if it's like he put a rock in his boot the morning before. That's what I'm expecting.
But yes, so you get, Sarah, you get more of this. I love in every book, we learn more and more about Palis. We learn more and more about the old Greatcoats. We learn more and more about the past, and that's the stuff that I love, because it shows us, it gives us such a larger, more complete picture about Falkio and Kest and Brasty and Palis. Like Palis right now, we know Palis through Falkio's flashbacks and what Falkio thinks of Palis. But even looking at like even just looking at the stuff that Palis has done, Palis went and impregnated a bunch of women.
Yep.
Who were married so that he could have secret heirs. That I don't put that in the righteous column, though I understand it because the Dukes are the bad guys. Totally fine with that. But, and so, like, I like that these people become more three-dimensional humans, and you don't agree with everything they do. And I love Falkio's taking Aline under his wing, and I like how he protects her in this one, and I like Valiana trying to come to grips with the fact that her entire life for 18 years she thought she was a princess and isn't. She is some random daughter of a scullery maid that looks like her.
That one I called.
Oh, you called it. Yeah. Get out of here.
I really like that twist of Valiana. Like I didn't. It's not something I expected. It's not something I called, but I remember thinking, like, right before the split, like, what is he trying to do with this whole, hey, let's try to influence the future queen because she's the future queen. I was like, it doesn't feel like that. It's so weird. And they split, and I'm like, this is definitely not what the story is about. That's super weird. I feel like that'd be like the cool the focus of everything. So, like, I liked how he changed her, how that twist affected her, and that he's not just leaving her on the side of the road. Like, she isn't someone that will just like, oh, you're the scullery maid's daughter. We're just gonna kill you in this battle, so I don't have to deal with you anymore.
So the reason I called it is because the maid got too much speaking parts.
Oh, I gotcha.
I thought the maid was probably gonna be like a love interest or something.
I also like that Valiana character has more to it. I love that she became a greatcoat. I am looking forward to see some character growth to her, but it irritated me so much that Cast, okay, I'm going to kill her. I was like, okay, how is it going to solve your problem? If you kill her, there will be someone else in her place.
That's what Falkio says.
This is why Brasty and Kest are not called the king's brains.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love King Palis. I think King Palis is my favorite character.
Love King Palis.
Yeah, I mean, the way Sebastian de Castell made me like him so much just through these short paragraphs, tells his writing. I loved him and all his scenes with Falkio, and it is actually very true. Someone who is who spent in a single room all their life and who only learns everything from books, Pelis behave like that because he's all about justice. Someone who sees how the world is or meets other people, they don't believe in that kind of ideal justice because life changes us, world changes us. So Pelis is very believable character. He's definitely my favorite, and I also liked Feltok a lot.
Sorry, go ahead, son.
I know what you mean, Anita, because I think Castell did a great job in making me feel that both Falkio and the king are tilting at windmills. Because their plans don't seem particularly practical. When the tailor comes back and says, now I am going to like have the Greatcoats do what they should have done. Like the king is this great idealist but I don't understand about the impregnation thing, but he's so idealistic that it has to be because he just read books. There's no sense of real politic in him, which I kind of loved. He's innocent, in some respects, and Castell has made me really worry for the entire idea of the Greatcoat. So, like, really good job, because I was periodically throughout the book feeling very sad for this ideal not being fulfilled. And I'm still not, like, Alan, no spoilers. I'm still not convinced that it will be fulfilled in the way I hope it will be. like
Mhm.
with the way the king wants by the end of the series.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, this is such a beautifully innocent idea.
Yeah.
I know
So
how many.
can I go real quick, Anita? I'm gonna bounce on what she said. That's why I love Falkio, because Falkio is carrying on that idealism, and he's the only one that can do it, because we see the cracks in Brasti and Kest. Like, the only reason that Brasti and Kest are still, like, you can sense that if it wasn't for Falkio, they too would have given up the ghost and tried to just, do their best. Like Brasti picking the pockets of the dead, and
Mhm.
Brasti's like, they don't need that. They don't need that. They're dead. And Falkio's like, we're greatcoats, and that has to mean something. And so it's Falkio who is the impractical idealist, because he idol worships Palis. Like Palis, I mean, saved his life in 2 times over.
Gave him purpose.
Yeah, gave him purpose again, gave him agency to do something about the situation, the society that was the indirect result, indirect cause of his wife's death. And so I love their loyalty to Falkio, even though the king is dead, even though
And
they have no idea what they're doing, they have no idea what the purpose is. Go ahead, sorry.
and both the king and Falkio learn about Greatcoat from stories,
Yeah,
which I
Yeah.
loved. There's this stories inspire us to do stupid idealistic things, right? Which I love that as a concept.
Yeah.
Um, as
And
book
I
readers, you know.
and I like that. Not like that. I was very sad about it. But how many kings would die for their soldiers or for people? That was, oh my god, I cried so much.
yeah.
It was. I mean, it's nobody do that.
I love Palis. I love Palis. I love Palin. It's in my reviews. I love Palis. I
Yeah.
love Palis. I
Yeah,
cannot.
I think he's definitely very much like he's a character that is built to appeal to bookworms,
For sure.
right? Because he's like, okay, he's just like us, where we want to do better things and do great things, and we just read a lot half the time. So
Ben, maybe you should continue from the second book, because you're listening to anyway spoiler discussion
Yeah.
of book one. Maybe you should continue from book
But
two.
if you can read Crucible of Chaos without reading the Greatcoats, it just spoils a couple things about the end of the series. If you
make
read
him want to go back and read the rest of the series that he already. I think. Did you
but,
sell your books yet, Ben?
But that's
I-
why I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what you guys' reaction to the rest of the series and the other themes and things that are drawn out. It's just good. Like, I love it. Many people do not like the third book, and that is because of groupthink and social contagion. There was a big read along back when I was doing it. There were some other channels that were also doing read alongs just at the time, and a bunch of people said book 3 felt like a side quest, and it frustrates me because I like book 3 a lot.
I like
And-
side quests.
And
So
book 4 cannot occur without book 3, and it just makes me mad. I'm like, guys, like, book 4 is the main plot, and book 3 is integral to book 4. So
I like side quest when there is a purpose to it. Even in this one, actually, when initially Falkio stayed back to save Ellen for that blood week, it was like in each chapter they're facing some kind of bad guys, and we are getting world building through that. I was like, after 2 chapters, I was like, why are we spending
years
so
ago.
much time here? I expected like maybe 2 chapters, but every chapter is like that. That's why I guessed actually Elaine is the king's jewel. That I was like, it clicked immediately, because
Um,
otherwise he wouldn't have spent this long on that.
book 3 is just really different than book 2. Like, it takes a different, and a lot of people loved book 2 and then went into book 3, and it wasn't more of the exact same. And I think
I'm expecting Falkio to live on a farm for a significant amount of time. Then
we'll see.
we're gonna get Tawny Man, beginning of Tawny Man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Can I also ask, and I asked this to Pete, the second plot engine, the fantasy purge, for purge in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought that was such a great way of keeping the pace and otherwise we would have, I think the week would have been boring.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. I'm like, this makes so much sense to like raise the stakes.
Yeah.
um
I'm not sure how practical it would be like in an actual setting, but I didn't care. Because it's just like, okay, it's the freaking purge.
but
Yeah,
have
I
you
do-
ever seen it? Like, Pete, you couldn't think of any either, right? Has
I-
anyone ever seen another fantasy purge in a fantasy world?
Mm-mm.
Not
So
even
cool.
Parker. That
Yeah,
is
very
surprising.
similar to that, Ben. Very similar to that.
Yeah, it's one of those things of just like the purge is such an impractical thing, but I feel like that this is a book of impractical but really cool things.
Yeah, I agree.
Like whether you have that, we have the Fey horse that's bigger than all the other horses and twice as amazing.
You like Grace of Kings. You hush with that.
Oh, you haven't got into it yet.
That huge horse that immediately when I saw it, I'm like, I wonder if Mata's going to ride that. The giant
look.
man on the giant horse. That's not a spoiler, Anitha. Literally. Like
Yes.
a blind person could see it coming from
It's true.
down the street.
I loved it when they threw the girl in the cage. I was like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
horse is going to be tamed.
Yeah, monster. I love that they just called her monster.
It's great.
But
Like,
it was hard to read what Patriana did to the horse.
Oh
Like,
my
that's just-
god.
I hate Patriana. Sometimes I think De Castell overdoes it, and I'm just like, I don't need all this, bud. Like, you can just do some of the things you're saying, and not all of the things.
Okay,
I
can we talk
basically
about
realized, Alan, you like stuff with like gruesome eye stuff happening.
I don't. I don't. They just happen to be in books I like. I don't
think
like
this
those
year-
parts.
this year all read-alongs. We read that in Alchemy Wars and in this one. Alan, can we talk about the army thing?
An army got there. Look at the map. Just look at the map.
I see. I opened the book. That's why.
there was a
See,
map.
Where is the
Yeah.
map?
The map's in
Yeah.
the front of the book.
This tiny
How
thing
do-
is a map?
Yes,
How do
where
you
they're
read-
going is
How
close.
do you read books without looking at maps, especially
I
if
just
there is a journey?
didn't
in
think
life?
there was
where
a
the
map.
army appears.
This is it, Pete.
It is not far. It is not far from Regio, especially if
know.
they set out earlier.
It's not about them, it's not about them appearing. It's about how do they know that these people will take the truth, because they were going to Hervor or something, so they were going straight. But it is a different route to that fun. The
I'm going to
arch.
tell you how they know. Look at those dotted lines. There's two roads. They took the north one, and then the other
Yeah.
people took the east one.
But initially when Falco and all went, they did not have any plan to go to Fan. After that, after meeting Petriana and Trin's revelation when they have to run, Feltok told them to go to Fan. Feltek told them to go to, Monsters of Gazia. That's why they decided to go that route. Until then, they did not know. How do the bad people know?
I don't follow what you're saying, Anitha, but that's you.
I would say that this is a clever use of chance.
Yeah.
That's all. And there, to me, I felt like the book was fast paced. There was a lot of time in between paragraphs that aren't well
Transition.
stated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So-
agree.
It is a little bit of a you gotta.
But Sarah, did you finish the book? I thought you finished it.
Book one.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that Sarah's finished it before I say what I'm going to say.
I thought
But
she said
yeah.
it was one of her, like 5 stars, one of her favorite books ever.
Well, I'm just going to wait for her to confirm that. Oh, okay. She couldn't. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. We were just trying to check because, Patriana gets it at the end. Oh,
Yeah. To be
gosh.
fair, I had 10 pages left, and
I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know.
Anitha.
Screw Trin. I hate Trin.
God. I'll be honest. I thought chapter 22 was going to be from the very first chapter.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be between Falcio and the mysterious naked lady, aka Trin.
Oh, Trin is the worst. Here's one thing I'm going to say because I want to watch y'all's reactions as we read. Duke Regio does reappear, and I just want after anytime he appears, I'm going to ask you. I'm like, what do you think of Regio? I ended up really enjoying the Duke
I'm
of Regio as a
surprised he
character.
wasn't dead actually at the end when all these great
Well,
quotes came. I thought
well,
he will die.
no.
I was like,
I'm letting you
how
know
did
he didn't die, and you're going to see him again.
Okay, can you accept? Anita asked a clarification question. Now I have a clarification
Okay.
question. Why is the tailor lady naked in the end?
Okay, before going there, we okay, go ahead. I have one more question.
I
She's
don't.
getting caught up in religious fervor. She just
What?
She's just a hippie at heart.
to show
Okay.
that De Castell showing that he is an equal opportunity nudist. Like you don't have to be a certain age, body type, or gender to just strip it down and yell at the moon.
I'm convinced she's crazy when she forgot to put on a clothes. So, like, I am interested to see how crazy she gets.
I love.
I don't think that's a theory that she's crazy. I think it's confirmed that she's crazy.
I love the tailor, y'all. Y'all leave her alone.
You know, I don't care that she is naked. That is, by then I was like so out of my brain with this, the language every character uses and she uses. That is more worrying to me than her getting naked.
The tailor. Look, I'm telling you, the tailor. She keeps doing it. The
Oh
tailor
my
does.
God.
The tailor
Yeah,
has no time for those strumpets.
I love Taylor in flashbacks, but since those final chapters, now I hate Tyler. I was like, oh
You
my god,
hate the tailor?
why
Terrible.
do you have to be
Anita is
such?
predicting that Taylor is going to be a villain.
Okay, well,
No, I'm
No
not
spoilers.
predicting, but why does she have to be so insufferable? I was like, oh god, oh
there you go.
god.
There you go. That makes sense, man. Right, her being naked to the magic. That's true.
I think yeah, Sebastian de Castell's magic is related to people
People
being
being
naked.
naked.
Yeah,
Anyway,
maybe.
I have another question. When when
And yes,
Falgio
sorry, De Castell is Canadian. This is
Yeah.
why I've had the book since 2019. Go
Yeah.
when
Canada.
Go ahead. Ethan.
when Falco and Elaine escaped, Fayhorse is the fastest horse. They escaped on Fayhorse, but by the time they meet that,
No, she had trapped the roads before they fled. Because remember,
no,
there are other Greatcoats free.
how did Patriana come so fast to meet them?
She
So
shows up
Patriana
late.
is behind them, chasing them, and then suddenly she sort of jumps to where the Fey horse
I
is.
hope when you're watching TV, Anita, you ask these same questions.
Yes, I do.
Oh, I do. There's a very particular scene in Obi-Wan where there is a doorway that leads everywhere. There will always be the bane of my existence because whoever wrote that show and filmed it, they didn't talk to each other at all. Whoever the heck is writing, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Literally everybody goes in and everybody goes out, and then it's
nobody. It's rubber band AI. That's like I play so many video games where like that did not phase me at all. It is so common in JRPGs for the villain to just be there. Like it's like, how did you get here before me? Like, have you ever seen National Treasure?
Yeah.
Have you seen National Treasure?
Yeah.
Or Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? They're always there. They get the hint from Nicolas Cage and then they show up. Like there's no way they can get there first, but they do. And that's just what I just chalked it up to dramatic trope.
So Anita, you know plot armor for heroes. This is villain armor.
Yeah,
this is how I took it as
villain speed. Villains have super sport teleportation. They can be anywhere they want.
Villain teleport.
Yeah.
Pete, Mitch comment is so right. You know, you're fake.
Mitch,
At least I was honest about not liking it, you know.
Pete is too concerned. He's too busy trying to figure out what his Funko Pop is. He's got 3 hours.
So distracted.
Any final comments, guys? I love
Pete. Did you like this book? I mean,
yeah, I did. I have criticisms, but like most of those criticisms are like on reflection. I had a really fun time when I was reading it. But I don't think that like the criticisms really devalue the time that I had with it.
Yeah. And that's always and that's why, you know, that to give defense of your hating star ratings. I mean, you know, sometimes people rate based on enjoyment of reading. I mean, I know I do. Like if I had fun reading it, like I'll give a book a lower score if I struggled through it, even if I know it was really good. I'm like, this is not. I didn't enjoy the experience of reading this. That's part of the reason that my Dispossessed rating was so low. Is I hated every second I had that book open. I did not enjoy reading it at all, despite the fact that a lot of the themes I'm happy to discuss. like, and so I'm enjoying it much more in audio because of that. I did not have fun reading it at all. Always, Thornall.
I do think there is a magic to this book, which with all we're talking about, there's just something so fun about what he does,
Yeah.
which is very difficult to sort of objectively like break apart, because I was just like, oh, this is, I don't know why, because this is making me sad, but I'm also having lots of fun because it's not a funny or, like fun book in that sense. People are dying.
It pieces a lot of fantasy
Yeah.
players.
I'm eager to see where you guys stack up, because book 2 is a lot of people's favorite, if not favorite, then second favorite for sure. A lot of people love book 2. My order is in descending order. It's book 4, 3, 2, 1 are my favorites.
I'll be very interested. It'd be really funny if you had the same opinion for Dandelion Dynasty, because that's
it's 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, because what you're saying about this series, it's the exact same thing. Everybody loves book 2, hates book 3, and then 4 and 1 are like, I think it's usually like 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3 is usually the ranking.
Yes. But Pete, isn't 3 and 4 really one book for Dandelion? I'm presuming that's not the case for Greatcoats.
Yeah. But to be fair, there's an argument to be made that there's a lot of stuff in. You can make similar like side questy arguments for book 3 of Dandelion.
I have only read book 1 of Spellslinger. I have not continued, but I want to. I
think I have all but one of them now, because I was like browsing Pango to see if I could find the other stuff, and I found all except I think the last one. I'm like, all right, let's go.
So he did the Hexologist?
No, that's Bancroft. That's Bancroft. Yeah. So I like De Castell as a writer, and so I like all of his books, but I don't love all of them. Like Greatcoats, I love the most because his writing style is similar, but they don't have the Greatcoats that and what they stand for and what they represent, and that's really what elevates them for me, is the Greatcoats stuff. So I'll always read his stuff. I'll follow him forever because I love his writing. But that's why I like the Greatcoats specifically, more than like Spellslinger. And the Crucibles of Chaos is the sequel series is good too, set in the Greatcoats world. And I'm so eager for the next one to come out. At any rate, anybody have any other final comments? I cannot wait till we convene.
I'm glad you made me read it.
That's right. Yeah. I'm eager to see. Are y'all starting? When are y'all starting this?
July.
Yeah. Anita's already started.
I got to get through City of Blades, and then we'll see. I'm gonna try to finish Night Watch tonight, and then get really into City of Blades, and then we'll see where we're at. It might depend on the challenges that we're doing for
cool.
The Empire is under attack.
Indeed.
So for everyone's benefit, Alan has great Patreon challenge happening. If you all join the Patreon, you can join us. It's going to be lots of fun.
Mitch,
look, everybody, the Empire is under attack.
Mitch will 100%.
We have to come.
Forcing y'all to say that. Like, I just got to close it out before Mitch has a chance to comment. All right, guys.
We have to defend the Empire.
All right. Join us next month for the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Hi.